Boots Ennis knocks out Thomas Dulorme in the first round. The first knockdown came from a right to the ear, which Boots threw from an orthodox stance. And the second knockdown, which was the knockout, was from a left hand. It was actually a combination of shots, but the final shot being a left hand down the pipe from a southpaw stance. So, as we've seen so many times, Boots Ennis is a true switch hitter. Hand speed, punching power, long reach. He appears to have it all. He did get caught by Dulorme. I think it was right before the second knockdown where he was opening up and Dulorme managed to catch him with a right. But other than that, it was all Boots Ennis. And when you got a guy who is as gifted as this, and Boots Ennis athletically is the most gifted welterweight I've seen for a very long time. Certainly one of the most gifted I've seen for the past couple decades in terms of just athleticism, the hand speed, the punching power, the coordination, all this kind of, the talent jumps out at you when you look at Boots Ennis. However, the likes of a Thomas Dulorme are leagues and leagues below the likes of an Errol Spence, a Terence Crawford, etc. And that's not to be underestimated because with a guy as talented as Boots, sometimes they can fall in love with their athleticism. Obviously, he's a technical guy too, but what I'm saying is if you look at that moment where he gets caught by Thomas Dulorme with a right hand, it's a clean right hand. And I've seen Boots get caught with shots like that before because, again, he's so in love with his own athleticism and his own talent. He feels like nobody can touch him. Now, if he fights an Errol Spence or, the winner of Sean Porter versus Terence Crawford, you would imagine that he's going to be more careful and he won't be so reckless. But at the same time, fighters can get into bad habits when they're fighting people who are just nowhere near on their level, like a Thomas Dulorme. And by the way, I didn't expect much, to be honest with you, from the Dulorme fight because Dulorme has seen better days. He's lost a lot of fights now. And even at his best, he was always very vulnerable. I think on the telecast, they said he'd been down 9 times or something in his career. So he's always been a bit chinny. And the way that Dulorme went about the job, he was quite assertive in that first round there. And that's really a disaster from a strategic point of view. If you're a chinny guy and you're not at your best anymore, you're over the hill and you're going in there against someone as precocious a talent as Boots Ennis, being assertive like that, you're just asking for trouble. And I know Dulorme's got this reputation of being a fast starter and what have you, but you need to rein that in if you're fighting Boots. If you're a veteran, you need to be trying to old man Boots Ennis. And even the likes of Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, I think they would need to fight a very technical fight against Boots, not throw too many shots, and just focus on countering whatever he does. I think that's the way to go because it's going to be very difficult for anybody to match this guy in terms of athleticism, in terms of, okay, let's take center ring. Let's see who's got the faster hands. Let's see who hits harder. Let's see who's got more dexterity in terms of switch hitting. I think that the top guys, if they're going to beat Boots, they're going to have to keep it simple and box an old man fight where they use Boots' youthful exuberance and the fact that he is in love with his athleticism. Use all that against him. Put the emphasis on him having to make the fight and just be negative, at least for the first few rounds, to try and frustrate him and then counter him. Because, again, as we've seen, Boots can be caught clean with shots, not the first time. And if you get hit clean by a Terence Crawford or Errol Spence, that might be the difference between winning the round and losing the round. Because the margins of error at the top level are so small. So you get clipped with a big clean shot like that, the rest of the round, neither of you are landing that many shots. Well, that's a round against you on the judges' scorecards. So I would like to see, or I would have liked to have seen, Boots Ennis just tighten that defense up a little bit. Again, we're nitpicking here, but at the highest level, you have to nitpick because the margins of error are so small. Anyway, it was a great performance by Boots, but it's going to be a big step up from this level to the Spencers and the Crawfords. And that doesn't mean he can't make that leap. It doesn't mean he can't do it successfully, because perhaps he can. Again, if you just look at his talent, the speed, the movement, the coordination, he looks more talented than Errol Spence. But there are intangibles. There's the chin, there's the stamina, there's the heart, there's the boxing IQ, and of course the experience that a guy like Errol Spence has. We don't know how Boots is going to fare with regards to those things. There are going to be some people who are upset that I'm even raising any questions about Boots because there's a lot of fanboys out there. Perhaps even the majority of people that tune in and watch boxing matches are fanboys. Fanboys don't understand objectivity. Objectivity means you don't just look at the positive, you also look at the negative. It's not about being negative about Boots Ennis, because I'm very excited about this fighter myself. Boots Ennis, as I've said many times before, is one of the most talented, if not the most talented welterweights I've seen for the past 20 years, just in terms of pure athleticism and all that kind of stuff, and punching power and speed. Tremendous. But I'm not 100% convinced until he steps in there against one of the top guys, one of the top 5 welterweights in the world. And then we'll see for sure. He looks like he's the goods. And I want to go ahead and say that he's the future and that he's going to beat all these guys. But there's a big, big gap between the Thomas Dulormes of the world and the Spencers and Crawfords of the world. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And before I go, I do just want to mention the knockout of the weekend. Zepeda starching Vargas in 1 round as well. Zepeda, we've seen him in up and down fights with the likes of Baranchek. He's a good puncher. Vargas, a young guy, called for this fight. And as the old saying goes, be careful what you wish for because you might just get it. At 23 years of age, he weren't ready for, I believe, the 32-year-old Zepeda. Both guys southpaws, a similar height. They were circling each other for the first few moments of the opening round. A few speculative shots thrown here and there. The first real punch of the fight was the one that effectively ended the fight. And that was a tremendous left hand from Zepeda as Vargas was shaping up to throw his own left hand. And he was just caught at the wrong range at the wrong time with his chin exposed. And not making mistakes like that is something which comes with experience. And Vargas, I'm sure, will learn from this and he can come back stronger as long as he can overcome those demons, because that was a traumatic experience right there. To get starched in front of all your fans in the first round, that's very humiliating. If he can come back from it, if he can get over it mentally, then he'll learn to be more wily and careful about the positions he puts himself in and when he puts himself in those positions, particularly early on in a fight against a guy like Zepeda who can really punch, as we all know. So he got hit with this big shot. Zepeda was in the better position. He threw his shot first, landed, bang on the chin. Vargas went down on his face. And from that moment, you could tell it was over. Normally, when a fighter goes down on their face like that, they either won't get up, or if they do get up, they're so badly hurt that they're not going to last very much longer. And that was the case here. When he got up, his legs were all types of rubbery. Zepeda was able to pin him in a corner and put the shots together to prompt the referee to stop the fight. And he absolutely made the right decision because Vargas was going to get seriously hurt. His eyes were in separate orbit. His legs were all over the place. He was getting hit clean. And that's all she wrote. So great performance by Zepeda. He is now looking for a shot against Josh Taylor, who is the undisputed 140-pound champion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below about how you think he would fare against Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor's obviously got the Jack Catterall fight to take care of first. And there's a lot of southpaws at 140 right now, right? Because Josh Taylor's a southpaw. Catterall's a southpaw, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Zepeda's a southpaw. So it could be Josh Taylor, a southpaw, fighting 2 southpaws back-to-back by way of mandatories. In fact, is Zepeda actually a mandatory yet? I think he is. Or if not, then he's the #1 contender because he's got the WBC silver belt. That's what this fight against Vargas was actually for. So great performance, great knockout. Onwards and upwards for him. Let me know what you guys think about all the things I've mentioned in this video. I'm out. Come and join me on Patreon and access my weekly no-holds-barred, censorship-free podcast where we lift the lid on a wide range of controversial topics. It's not mainstream friendly, it's not politically correct, but that's the whole point. We dare to stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. Just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called Hatman Hot Topics. You'll gain access to a minimum of 2 hours of exclusive content every single week, including podcasts, videos, interviews, live stream Q&A sessions, as well as my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. Not to mention a vast back catalogue of hundreds of hours of previous episodes. You can listen via the Patreon app with the option to download in high quality MP3. We've also got a Discord server where you can come and chat and hang out with myself and other members. There's no contract, no commitment, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.